Hello, my name is Cody Watson, and today I will be making a leadership video for organizational behavior at Tarleton State University. Now, when I was trying to come up with who I wanted to do my video over, I wasn't really sure until I looked at my job. I currently work for Dick's Sporting Goods, and I really enjoy it. So for this paper, I researched the CEO. I watched the speech he gave back in 2015, and I knew he had my perfect subject. Edward Stack is the present-day CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods. They own Galen's, Field & Stream, Golf Galaxy, and True Runner. They are the largest sporting goods store today. Now let me take a second to tell you a quick story about Dick's. Dick's is the original company was started over 60 years ago by his father in upstate New York. His father worked for an Army-Navy store selling fishing and tackle. The owner of the store wanted to expand, and he asked the 18-year-old to make a list of what he would need to buy. When the boy presented the plan, the owner threw it in the trash and told Dick he didn't know what he was talking about. Dick got the list, borrowed $300 from his grandmother, and opened his first store. In 1960, at the age of 13, Edward started working for his father and wanted to teach him responsibility. He hated every minute of it. He planned to go to college and become a lawyer, and his father thought this was unnecessary because he wanted Edward to stay and run the business with him. But Edward's mother helped him get into college, and the day that his father dropped him off, Edward said to himself, "I am free at last, thank God I'm free at last. I never have to go back to work in that store again." Well, it didn't work out the way he thought. In 1984, his father became ill and he had to come home and take over running the stores. Edward surprised himself and he fell in love with the business and working retail. The slogan displayed on every store is "Every season starts at Dick's Sporting Goods." This catchphrase tells the story of what Edward wanted the stores to represent to customers. Anyone that watched, played, or enjoyed baseball, football, basketball, or just any other sport that you can think of, they could find what they needed at Dick's. Things were going great until the Stack family ran into some problems in 2000 when they tried to grow the business too fast. The family tried to open 18 new stores on the basis of 22 operating ones. This mistake was nearly the downfall of the whole operation. They were within 1 week of closing permanently, and Edward stepped up to the plate. He took charge. He displayed his cognitive skills at this time by using his business knowledge and problem-solving ability. He managed to get his venture capitalists together with one last bank that would loan him money, and one day at a time he worked the business out of the hole. Edward tells the story of how they would spread all the bills that needed to be paid every day out on a table, check the daily receipts, and pay what they could. By 2002, under Edward's leadership, the company went public. The family kept 60% and sold the rest. So that way they wouldn't have to worry about anyone else taking over their company. Stack had persevered until this problem was handled and overcome. There's going to be some winners and there's going to be some losers, and Stack said, "We're going to be a winner." When asked in a speech he gave to the Tepper School about how his philosophy had changed since his early days, he said that he had used to do everything. He stocked, placed orders, mopped, helped customers, bookkeeping, and just anything else. Today, he knows he needs to help to run the business profitably. Having extensive knowledge of your business is another cognitive ability for good leadership. Stack had to learn to delegate his responsibilities and step back and let others do what he had hired them to do. He said the biggest positive is to listen a lot more than you talk. Well, Stack uses an upside-down chart so to know the order of who is important in his business. The customer is at the top and his name is at the very bottom. He says, "My job is to support and make sure people who report to me have all the support and resources they need to do a great job." The further you get away from the consumer on the chart, the less you should talk and the more you should listen. He learned when there were problems, he had to lead through them by keeping people in the loop, be confident, and communicate the plans on how to fix the problem. When he talked about making a mistake, He made sure to say that everyone made them and so to fix it and move on. His attitude is that if something was your idea and you were going to make it work, come hell or high water, what you're probably going to get is a lot more hell and some high water. The text says for an executive to understand changing business conditions that affect his business is a prized cognitive skill. Stack is up to that challenge. He has a plan to keep his company alive and well in the future. He recognizes that retailers must build their brand and become tech companies. Everyone is selling the same kinds of things today, and you must make your company stand out. A business today also should be able to make it easier for people to shop, whether in person, by internet, or by phone. Stack knows that the consumer wants what they want, when they want it, how they want it, and where they want it. One example that Edward used in his meeting with his executive was to pull out his cell phone and say, "We have a store in everybody's pocket." Today, a company is competing with the large retail chains, online companies, and even the product manufacturers who have their own websites. They all add to the competition. In any business, Stack says it's good to have a healthy sense of paranoia because the world is changing so quickly. He's referring to the fact that people don't have to buy a CD anymore. They carry their music in their pockets on their cell phones. The same is true for books. Nobody goes to a library. So a company needs to do it right, or they risk going out of business. Another thing Stack is aware of is that a retailer must be in the entertainment business. He's talking about thinking up your brand to a huge event. For example, a NASCAR race or even a Victoria's Secret fashion show. But in his case of Dick's Sporting Goods, they sponsor a large marathon every year. Of the 5 personality traits in the book, I think Edward Stack stands out the most in trustworthiness and authenticity. He has the quality of someone who can be trusted with self-confidence, integrity, and concern for employees and customers. He has 5 principles to keep the company and himself going forward. The first is to be fair. You must treat customers, employees, partners, and other retailers fairly. The second principle is to be tough. He felt that you couldn't let someone walk all over you, but you still had to be fair in the way things were handled. The thing is to be humble and confident. Stack stated that, "I think to be great you have to prove that you're the best year after year after year and show that by winning. I think that's something that you have to earn." He thought you needed to keep your ego in check, and he also felt you shouldn't put your heroes on a pedestal. The fourth principle Stack uses is called the win-win way. Customers, employees, and stakeholders are all considered partners. If Nike wins, so does Dick's. If a customer wins, so does Dick's. If Dick's wins, so do the stakeholders and the employees. The last principle I think is important is that Dick's should carry a big stick and wield it responsibly. Dick's is a bigger company in any of these they deal with, except for Nike and Adidas. Stack knew the company would have a big impact on the smaller companies, customers, and partners that they worked for. He said you should act responsibly. Edward has a vision for Dick's, what we have to do and what we want to be all about. Our textbook says, leadership copes with the change and competitive, rapidly evolving world. Effective leaders deal with change by formulation of a vision of the future. This statement fits him. He said they want to build leading brands that serve and inspire athletes and other outdoor enthusiasts around the world, so that way they achieve their personal best. Stack says in every business, in this business, you never just stand still. You stand still, then you're losing ground. He feels it is important to give back to the community, such as supporting youth programs. Now, when the school shooting happened in Florida, he let his concern for the kids and their families guide his decision to stop selling AR-15s, and he would raise the age limit to buy a gun to 21 in his stores. This decision hurt the profits and caused Dick's Sporting Goods to lose a lot of customers. There were many people angry about this policy, but Stack only saw the hurt kids and their families. Dick's wasn't involved, and he wanted to make sure that they never were. Dick's tries to share as a company the same core values of a true athlete: driven, skilled, passionate, and committed. Stack shows the personality trait of a leadership called emotional intelligence. He has self-confidence, empathy, and the vision when it comes to athletes and their families. His company has produced several commercials and one documentary promoting the true athlete. The catch line: when mind, body, and equipment come together, you are untouchable. Every inch, every hurdle, every comeback, every finish, every championship, and every season starts at Dick's Sporting Goods. Yes, this brings business, but Stack really believes that sports make people better. His company donates more than $12 million to charities, $4 million to teams who have lost their funding, and supports over 8,000 community organizations. He definitely leads by example. Edward Stack's leadership ability was learned over the years of trial and error. Dick's is a family company that had to desire to grow. Stack brought in professional people to help them do this. He says you have to trust outsiders, gain their trust, and make everyone feel like they are a part of the overall team. So everyone has to share in the success. Edward Stack's leadership can be summed up in a statement: our leadership position is the direct result of the talented and dedicated men and women who make up our company. From 2 stores to over 675 stores today, Dick's has become a growing and thriving business under the leadership of Mr. Edward Stack. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a little bit about Edward Stack and learned a little bit about Dick's Sporting Goods and the way they are run.